couldn't have gotten there without you.
Well, it's you, not available.
Not available.
That was my comment. Yeah. Kelly is the National Executive Assistant. Never, ever available. You're free to use that. We figured that out.
Remember when they had, there was Director P?
I didn't get that. Director?
Yeah, Director P.
You can direct yours.
Yeah, I'm not. It's a limited edition because it's the last Commodore coin I'll ever say First District in.
Good morning, everybody. We're going to get started in about 2 minutes, so if you want to grab a coffee and get in your seats, that would be great. That mic is hot.
Please take your seats. Who did that? That was cool. That was good. One of our cuttermen just did the bosun whistle, so thank you for that. So I love it. I love it. Well, welcome to the National Training Summit. Woo-hoo! And welcome to Dallas. Yeehaw, right? Everybody yeehaw. It's a good thing. It's fun. It's fun. I'm looking forward to our Friday member appreciation fun night, whatever you want to call it. We're having a Western theme, which seems to be, fitting for this spot here. So again, welcome, and thank you to those who we have out online. We are taping this, and we hope that we've got some people online with us as well this morning. So again, thank you all for traveling here. I know we have a few people not in the official uniform because we have had some airline issues with baggage, and that's to be expected, and it's okay. You can't wear the uniform if you don't have it with you, right? So anyway, I know we had somebody in ASOC that didn't have it the whole 2 days, but has it this morning. So it's just the way it is. But again, thank you for being here. I'm real excited. It's going to be a great week. It's been a great week already. We've got a slew of C-schools here. And it feels really good to have everybody back. As I said earlier, we could have done this on Zoom, but there's just nothing like being in person. So I'm just excited to be here. So anyway, thank you, everybody. I will now convene the meeting of the Committee of the Whole. This is a semi-official meeting required by the standing rules. No actions or votes will be taken at this meeting today. Rather, it's an opportunity to consider and discuss the issues and recommendations that will come before the board during the official meeting. My executive assistant, Kelly, will now call the official roll.
All right, good morning, everybody. We are gonna, you see your place cards have the original, the OG numbers on them, but I'm going to call you by the new ones, so please bear with me when I get the roll call. National Commodore Mary Kirkwood.
Present.
Vice National Commodore Pat Ferry.
Present.
Acting Immediate Past National Commodore Alex Smileski.
Present.
Chief Director Auxiliary Captain Brett Schmataki. Deputy National Commodore Atlantic Area East and Mission Support John Krogman.
Present.
Deputy National Commodore Atlantic Area West and Operations Sunny Thatch. Mission Support. Oh, no, we got to mess up again. Deputy National Commodore PAC Area Michael Borzov.
Present.
Deputy National Commodore Information Technology and Planning Linda Merriman. Northeast District, Northern Region, Commodore Glenn Gayton. Northeast District, Southern Region, Commodore Michael Klasik. East District, Northern Region, Commodore Noreen Shafini. East District, Southern Region, Commodore James Thomas. Southeast District, Commodore Martin Goodwin. Heartland District, Coastal Region, Commodore Doug Ritchie. Heartland District, Eastern Region, Commodore Ron Bono. Heartland District, Western Rivers, District Chief of Staff Chris Ware. Great Lakes District, Central Region, Commodore Mark Villano. Great Lakes District, Eastern Region, Commodore Stephen Botsford. Great Lakes District, Western Region, Commodore Robert Kumpf. Southwest District, Northern Region, Commodore James Losey. Southwest District, Southern Region, Commodore Rodney Donahue. Southwest District, Commodore Klaus Nyhaus. Oceania District, Commodore Jody Nelson. Arctic District, Commodore David Larkin. President, National Association of Commodores, Bob Schaefer.
All right, thank you, everybody. We are still getting used to the names, obviously, but we're getting there, which is good. So thank you all for being here today. It really is a shot in the arm to see everybody and to spend some time with you. I got to spend some time with the ASOC class and all the C schools the last couple of days, and it's just been awesome. During this session, there will be comments from Captain Brent Schmataki from our Chief DIROC's office, BSX office, and the Vice National Commodore. There will also be reports from the Deputy National Commodores and President of the National Association of Commodores. And now we'll hear the reports from the National Executive Committee.
All right, thank you, Commodore Kirkwood. A quick reminder about personal safety. We're trying to get every meeting started with a quick safety briefing, and we encourage you to do the same thing in your areas. In case of an emergency, there are 9 AEDs located in this hotel. The closest one to us is going to be at the atrium front desk. You have emergency exits behind you, and you have 2 behind me also if you need them. If you're walking in the front, we have power cords down for these monitors. They have rugs over them, but they're not completely even and smooth, so please be careful when you're walking across those. It could be a tripping hazard. All right, our first speaker of the day is Captain Brent Schmataki from the Coast Guard Office of Auxiliary and Boating Safety. Let's give him a hand.
I think everybody hear me? Yeah, good? All right. Well, good morning, y'all. I think that's the appropriate greeting of the day. Welcome to Dallas, Texas, and the U.S. Coast Guard's National Training Summit. It's super exciting to be here in person, seeing everyone face to face rather than collaborating on a Teams call. So I don't know about the rest of you, but some of those Teams calls can get a little I don't know what the word is. It's not boring, but it's just good to see everyone face to face. It's been a hectic year, to say the least, with many challenges we have all faced, but one thing is constant, and that is the auxiliary answering the call. You should be proud of all the successes that you've had throughout the year. I know I am. Before walking in this morning, I ran into Tyler Kelly, who's up at the Northeast District. He says, "Hey, if you want to break the ice, here's a good joke for you." He's like, you know, they have a bunch of paid, trained engineers / professionals that built the Titanic, but volunteers built Noah's Ark. So there you go. So Tyler, thank you for the joke. All right. I'm not sure if that broke the ice or not, but it was a good attempt. All right. I'd like to thank the National Commodore, Mary Kirkwood, Vice National Commodore, Pat Ferry, and the rest of the National Executive Staff, along with all of the district Commodores, for their tremendous leadership. Without it, the auxiliary would be unable to successfully complete its missions, let alone put on such a great event such as the NTS. I'd also like to give a special shout out to Kelly Creselius. She has been volunteering her time despite having a full-time job and coaching a cheer squad, ensuring that we all have a great experience here in Dallas. I'd like to provide you with a couple of updates on a variety of topics, and I'll begin with the BSX staff. As you know, Master Chief Travis Park, he's formally retiring later this week after 30 years of faithful Coast Guard service here at the NTS in a ceremony on Friday afternoon. All of us here at BSX and those out in the fleet have already missed his tireless dedication and southern drawl. His replacement, Jason Hermes, is here this week participating in our C schools. I don't know, Jason, if you're here, if you raise your hand. Not sure if he's here this morning, but he's going to be taking over for Master Chief Park. YNC Samantha Tober, who was in the office for many years, completed her BSX tour a month and a half ago, is now settled in at the Coast Guard Office of Enlisted Personnel Management. She's actually just around the corner, and we actually go around the corner to ask her lots of questions throughout the day. So she's kind of doing both jobs. Her replacement, YNC Pereira, I don't know if YNC is here or not, but we'll see her later in the week. She just joined us from our office a couple weeks ago from the C5 ISC admin staff in Alexandria, Virginia. She too is here and will be participating in all the events this week. Our training program manager, David Goff, he resigned from the Coast Guard in May as he proceeded with his family to California to pursue new job opportunities and be closer to other family members. We just received the green light last week to start the hiring process in earnest, and will do so upon return from the NTS. In the meantime, Lieutenant J.G. Kelly Richters, which is over here, Kelly, if you can raise your hand, thank you, has done an excellent job covering the training manager duties along with her normal job duties with tremendous assistance from the Auxiliary National Training Directorate. Our office continues with an absence in our division chief billet as Commander Stacy Wiest, who you all probably met last year. She retired from the Coast Guard in June. We've been told many times and in many ways that a replacement is not expected until next year, so that billet will remain gapped until next summer. I know for a fact that the train would definitely come off the tracks without the tireless dedication of Steve Minatolo, Steve Keel, Kelly Richters, and our finance manager, Randall Ellington. It's not difficult to recognize that a lot of work is being handled by very few staff. Arrivals of Master Chief Hermes and Chief Pira are most welcomed and will clearly help out. And I'd be remiss if I did not acknowledge the incredible support we served from our cadre of Chief Director Ops EAs. There's now 15 EAs that are helping us with everything from Aux Data 2 to operations to training program management. We are deeply appreciative and indebted to their services. All right, moving on to the spring N-Train National Board recommendations. There were 2 that were voted on and approved: the authorization of the Rescue and Survival System staff officers and removal of sitting Commodores, both elected and appointed, from the Auxiliarist of the Year consideration. There are several recommendations that are expected to be put forth to the National Board for vote this year at NTS, and I look forward to the National Board's consideration and action on those recommendations. Auxiliary partnerships at the N-Train. The auxiliary had initiated or renewed partnership with other organizations. One of those, the DNACO RBS Commodore, Mr. John Krogman, has shepherded the letters of intent to formalize these partnership LOIs are with the National Safe Boating Council and the National Marine Electronics Association that promote the RBS partnership with the auxiliary, and the AUX-A have completed their Coast Guard legal and programmatic review and are en routing to their respective organizational heads. An LOI was also to renew the auxiliary partnership with the Civil Air Patrol. It was submitted to legal for review in mid-July. Once it's cleared legal, it would also be placed in routing for the appropriate signatures. Also, the rejuvenation of the Auxiliary Legislative Liaison Officer, also called the LLO program, under the insightful guidance of Commodore Bruce Kelton and the Deputy ANACO, Jason Pfeiffer. An amazing rejuvenation of the LLO program has occurred within the past half year. Auxiliary LOs are supposed to be appointed for each state. They track and report relevant legislation on a quarterly basis. Unlike the auxiliary state SLOs, they solely track and report legislation up to including enactment, giving the nuances of understanding the legislative process and what it's required to report. An LLO requires a unique skill set. All right, AUX Data 2. Lieutenant J.G. Richters is working on submitting a BudCat 4. That's famous or I guess lingo for the budget world. So if anybody needs a class on what BudCat 4 is, Steve's our guy over there. I heard him talking about that yesterday in the class. So the BudCat 4 is requested for all the AUX Data 2 enhancements as discussed in the AUX Data 2 white paper written by Salesforce. The AUX Data 2 system guidance authored by Master Chief Park is still being reviewed at the BSX level, and after it gets done with BXS, it'll head up to my office, and then it'll get distributed out to everyone else. But the AUX Data 2 team has changed drastically. The Salesforce project manager is on parental leave until January of 26, and the interim project manager, Mackenzie Brown, is also gone until then. So the C5 ISC's project manager contractor, Frank Sylvester, now is sharing his role with a new government employee. Additionally, the Information Systems Security Officer and Information Systems Officer roles have changed to new people. One of the cores has departed as well. So basically, overall, it has been challenging to get the cores and the KO of the AUX Data 2 system to fund the requested enhancements. There should be no issues with the ATO, which is also known as the Authority to Renew. So we got that going for us. All right, on the training side, this has been a hot topic as of late. Based on the available C-School budget, numerous Coast Guard offices, including BSX, received significant reductions in C-School quotas for FY26. As a result, the course offerings and class sizes for in-person AUX C-Schools are limited again. So this is the second year in a row. BSX 1 has been working with the Auxiliary Directorate Chiefs and ForceCom to coordinate in-person C-School classes that best meets our training needs within the constraints of the budget. BSX 1 and ForceCom have met several times to discuss concerns regarding declining C-School quotas, and ForceCom encourages the districts, areas, or the sectors to direct deposit funds to their accounts to increase the BSX school quotas. BSX is working on prioritization worksheets to realign the course descriptions to match the Force Design 28 strategic plan to secure more quotas for future years. Civil rights awareness review is still going on. Auxiliaries who complete all other core training requirements except for this course can be certified as current in the auxiliary core training in accordance with the guidance in the All AUX 0825. Additional guidance will be provided once this course is made available again. Lieutenant J.G. Richters is working with the Auxiliary Training Directorate to use up the remaining FY25 BSX 11 funding for the C-Schools. She's asked the Directorate T to identify 8 more students wishing to attend the September AUX-LAMS course in Richmond, Virginia. All right, awards and recognition. The 2024 Association for Rescue at Sea Chairman's Award. This will be awarded to Auxiliarist Jason Leck from Auxiliary Flotilla 0530805 in recognition of his actions that resulted in rescuing a person in distress in Brigantine, New Jersey on the night of 25 June 24. I would also like to congratulate the Auxiliaries of the Year, Commodore Greenoff Inspirational Leadership Award, and the Commodore Maxim Public Education Instructor Award winners, which will be formally recognized later in the week, along with the Flotilla of the Year. The Auxiliary Commendation Medal. I'm going to mention this name specifically, Auxiliarist Christopher D. Ware. Is Chris in the audience today? Yep, Chris, right back there. For being the primary caretaker and liaison for Auxiliarist Leonard Cantor, since he suffered a severe head and neck injury while at the ASOC training in St. Louis, Missouri in March. Chris has been going up to, making the drive all the way up to Chicago to see Lenny. And I also want to mention the Auxiliary Certificate of Appreciation Award for the Auxiliarist Ware's K9 Sandy Pearl Ware, who's been roaming around the building all week. And I think some babysitting duty, right? Sandy's not with us this morning? Okay, all right. So thank you, Chris, and thanks to Sandy for providing that support for Lenny. Discipline. Over the past 18 months, BSX division has handled an average of almost 2 congressional inquiries each month. These packages have begun to take on a distinctly different flavor in that many come in the form of a complaint to the DHS Office of the Inspector General, a considerably new trend. Every package comes with a tight turnaround deadline for response, which normally requires considerable investigative action by the staff as well as the Duroc staff, and more with help from the Auxiliaries Administrative Investigations Directorate. Congressional responses tend to require a lot of work to be boiled down into one single page of summaries. All this significantly diverts the BSX and the Duroc staff from their normal functions, which should be spent on supporting you out in the field, all right? I bring this up just to make you aware of the trends and the impacts of such packages that we in BXS1 and the Duroc's office are often dealing with. And most importantly, we just ask you to continue educating and guiding the auxiliaries about their value to the chain of command. Operations. There are many operational highlights, far too many, and not enough time for me to stand up here and tell you about. The Coast Guard Auxiliary is a tremendous organization with many talented skill sets. I'm amazed at the variety of specialties we offer the active duty, but I want to highlight some impressive numbers from 2024. 105,468 hours of auxiliary volunteer services performed just on water safety patrols, 331 distressed boaters saved, and over 51,000 vessel safety checks completed. I am thankful for all the specialties, services, and selfless efforts we put forth to help our active duty members. In closing, I know I probably left a few topics, highlights, or even deserving recognitions out of my remarks that are worthy of mentioning, but I think my 10-minute slot has expired. I'm getting close, all right? And besides, I could stand up here all day and talk about the outstanding volunteerism you provide the United States of America. I would like to leave you with a short paragraph that I came across. Perhaps the words will hit home and inspire you even more. Volunteering is more than just altruism. It is a journey of personal growth and fulfillment. In the act of giving, individuals discover new skills, broaden their perspectives, and deepen their understanding of the world around them. The bonds formed through shared experiences with fellow volunteers and beneficiaries create a network of support and belonging, fostering a sense of purpose and joy that radiates through both the volunteer and the community they serve. As Gandhi once said, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in service of others. Thank you for your time today, and I look forward to the rest of the week. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. We will now hear from RV NACO, Pat Ferry. Pat.
Good morning. Oh, come on, you guys can do better than that. Good morning. Yeah, my goodness, you sound like my kids on the first day of school. So, good morning. Welcome to our National Training Summit 2025. And to reiterate what's already been said, thank you for being here. Thank you for accepting leadership roles in the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary. we couldn't do it. None of us could do it without all of you, and we certainly couldn't do it without all of our members. You know, accepting a leadership role can be two distinct different things. You know, you can accept the role, or you can be a leader. And, you know, accepting the role might just mean wearing the stars, wearing the stripes. But we know that from our risk management training that there are two types of leaders, the positional leader and the functional leader. And you can be one or the other, but in my opinion, to be successful as a leader, you need to be both. You really do. And that takes dedication, it takes motivation, it takes a person being selfless and giving to themselves constantly. People want to be led by dedicated, motivated, and knowledgeable leaders. You know, I want to focus on that knowledge for a little bit. I asked the question, I think the other day in the ASOC class, or maybe it was Sandals, how many people have read the Oxman? And, you know, several hands went up. Okay. I'm not going to ask everybody to do it, but how many people have read it cover to cover? Yeah, you know, hey, there you go, Ron, good job. You really need to do that. It's not the most exciting book in the world, but to be knowledgeable, you need to know where to turn to, whether it's that manual or to somebody else who you respected as a knowledgeable leader to help your people that you lead to be motivated and dedicated. So, you know, a leader has to take care of their people. It's our responsibility as leaders in this organization to give our members the training and the tools and the opportunity to succeed in any mission they choose to participate in. Now, we don't see it so much at this level, but when you get down to the flotillas, how many times has the flotilla shifted maybe when a new flotilla commander comes in because maybe he's just interested in surface operations? You know, that flotilla commander needs, and we need to constantly open the aperture on our lens, and we need to be able to help our members to succeed in whatever mission they want. I know all the Commodores and probably all the chiefs of staff are benefit of seeing the exit surveys and the new member surveys that are published every quarter. You know, there's two questions. There's one question in each. It's a free-form question. And in the new member survey, it kind of deals with, hey, you know, what motivated you to join? And based on your experience of 18 to 24 months, what can you tell us that we can do better to have made your experience easier or better for you? And we get a multitude of answers there. And then in the exit survey, and remember, there's a bunch of surveys mailed out every quarter, and I think the response rate's like 2.7%, which somebody told me once that's not real bad, you know, for an anonymous survey. But you get to the exit surveys, and the free-form question is, what didn't you like? Tell us what we could have done better. And you know what scares the heck out of me is that I read the new member survey first, and some of the suggestions that those new people are making, those people that are full of energy and excitement right now, is to, here's what I think we could have done better, are now, when you read the exit surveys, the reasons people are leaving. And that's scary. That's really scary. And when you look at some of the detail, and the devil's in the detail, and you see things like, well, I joined because I was told that I could get into aviation. And then I asked my flotilla commander about it, and he said, or she said, oh, we don't do that. What a bummer. You know, recruiting, honest recruiting, letting people know what we are, who we are, and what we expect, and what the opportunities may be for them, and what difficulties they may have in achieving, you know, their goal, whatever that may be, in joining our organization. So knowledgeable leaders, honest recruiting, and it's gonna be more important as we dive into the future here. You know, I'm really confident after working with a lot of you over the past 3, 4, and maybe even more years, and meeting a lot of you for the first time over the past 2 days, I'm really confident that you all are that positional and functional leader. You're dedicated, or you wouldn't be here. You're knowledgeable. You know, all of you on staff are subject matter experts. You're knowledgeable. You know, on the elected side, wealth of experience, knowledge just from the school of hard knocks. So I believe you're that type of leader. And, you know, we need to strive to continue to be that type of leader, and we need to recognize those traits in our new members and mentor them and bring them along. So, you know, be selfless, be dedicated, be knowledgeable. You know, this is an exciting time for the Coast Guard Auxiliary. It's an exciting time to be a leader in the Coast Guard Auxiliary. How many have heard us about Force Design 28, right? All of us? Yeah. So here we stand again on the threshold of change in our organization, because the Coast Guard's changing and we will change with us. And even though Force Design 28 has only been in play 2 to 3 months now, it's already impacting us. And it's going to impact us more in the future, and we're going to hear more about that when NACO briefs us up on the state of the auxiliary. We're mentioned 3 or 4 times in that document, specifically, if you haven't read it, and I urge all of you to do it. I know an all-ox went out saying that we should read it, and we should. Knowledgeable. How are you going to know about it if you don't read about it? And maybe that reading sparks some questions. So, you know, if these are exciting times to be a leader in this organization, and we need to be excited. We need to be excited. My granddad told me that the fish stinks from the head down. And if we're not excited, how can we expect the people we lead to be excited? So, you know, don't fall into the mindset that, oh boy, here we go again. Or, they're just trying to get rid of us. Because it just ain't so. It's not going to happen. You know, I get a kick out of going to some district conferences, and there'll be a sector commander there, and you know, somebody will have been saying to me, oh, they're trying to get rid of us, you know, they're doing to make us do all this stuff. And I'll say to the sector commander, Captain, if we were to be disestablished by the stroke of a pen tomorrow, how many people would you have out on the boat ramps next Saturday? 0. How many people would be in the classroom teaching recreational boating safety? 0. We're not going anywhere, folks. We're going to be asked to do more, and we're going to be asked to do more in ways we've never thought of before. We kind of thought that maybe that was past now. We were pretty well set in how we're going to support the Coast Guard, but they're going to be looking to us more. One of the things coming out of Force Design 28 is an increase in $15,000 active duty and reserve personnel. We're going to need more people to support those 15,000 people. We're going to need trained people. We're going to need motivated people. So here we are. Don't be resistant to change. You know, we've often heard from tenured members who are resistant to change, and I understand that you know, we're going down the tubes. It's not the way it used to be, and you know, that kind of influences some of our new members. So when I think of that, and I think of some of my own mentors that I talk to, or some of the people that I've come up through over the years that are still in the auxiliary, and I hear them spewing this stuff, I kind of think about them as barnacles. You know, and if you're in aviation, I would think about it as icing on the wings, right? So what happens if the hull is fouled with barnacles or the wings start to ice up, right? The plane or the boat slows down, all right? Steering into trouble. So we, all of us in this room, we need to find a way to keep that ice off the wings and to keep those barnacles from forming. And if they're forming, we need to find a way to turn those people's thinking around. We don't want to get rid of those folks. They've put a lot of time and dedication into the organization, just as we all have. You know, they've been mentors to many of us, but they just, you know, need to be brought up with at times. They need to be explained why the change is taking place. And I think sometimes we don't do a good job in explaining the why. So, as I said before, the Force Design 28 documents mentions us 3 or 4 times, and and there's going to be change. So where am I going with all this? Leadership and barnacles and icing and Force Design 28. Well, here's my ask. Here's my challenge to all of us sitting in the room today. I challenge you all to go back to your districts, to your divisions, and to your flotillas, and renew the excitement and pride that being a member of the Coast Guard Auxiliary is. I want you to remember what you felt like the first time you put on this uniform and how proud you were. I want you to remember how you felt the first time when you got that first ribbon, whatever it was, or when you became a staff officer, an elected officer, and you got that shoulder board with a stripe. You remember what it was like. You know, that first ribbon, you're looking down at your chest. Is it still there? I know, you know, you're looking at the board. Am I wearing, is it straight? Is it straight? You know, can you see that stripe? I did it. We all did it. We need to get on that excitement path again. You know, excitement breeds activity, or activity breeds excitement, and it breeds results, and it'll breed fellowship. And, you know, when I joined the Coast Guard Auxiliary, I was told that fellowship is the glue that holds us all together. So those three things, they need to be in sync. They need to be working. So let me circle back to where I started, and I want to thank you. Thank you, and thank you again for being leaders in the world's greatest Coast Guard Auxiliary. Thank you.
Thank you, Commodore Ferry. Up next, we have DNACO Atlantic East Recreational Boating Safety, John Krogman.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here and really seeing what the auxiliary has to offer. This is where all the reports come and you get to find out what's going on here and there. This is great to be part of. I'm happy to report that things are going very well in Land East. I'm very happy to work for all 11,430 members and RBS members everywhere. I don't know how many, I guess we're all RBS, so I'm happy to work for you too. I'd like to start my report up north in the Northeastern District. The AUP program is very strong up there. We have 66 students in the various colleges there. The Maine Maritime Academy and the Massachusetts Maritime Academy and a lot of the smaller ones. Things are going very well in those programs. I'd say that the common denominator in Land East with all of our districts are getting working to get the members out of AP status and getting them into BQ. So we're knocking on doors, offering things online or in person, calling it. So we're working to get that done. Going further south in the Eastern District, Northern Region, their culinary assistant team is doing a great job. Where's Nori? Working for Trace Cape May and everything, and things are going very well. Back in June, I had the pleasure and the honor of attending an award ceremony at National Headquarters, with our National Commodore and Vice National Commodore there. And this event was the Captain Niels P. Thompson Innovation Award ceremony. Coast Guard leaders come together and they celebrate the innovative spirits of Coast Guard. They have 6 team categories. Vice Commandant presented an award to our auxiliaries, Ben Newby, who's down in Flotilla 83, Claytor Lake, Blacksburg, Radford area there. And he received this award for developing a cloud-based debris field hazard mapping methods using GPS data. And what he did was, after the Hurricane Helene, which devastated everything, we were guessing on Claytor Lake how much debris was there. Debris meaning trees, washing machines, air conditioners, New River washed through everything. Well, he devised the system. We thought there's maybe 20 acres of debris in that lake. He devised a system where all the other entities, the partners, could use FEMA and EPA and everybody, the Marine Corps of Engineers, and he came out with a thing, and they could use it live data, and it was 1,500 acres of debris. So he got an award for that. It was really a neat deal to be a part of. Hurricane Helene just devastated that area, as in other areas. Moving on, I'd like to mention some of our all-star events that have gone. We have a lot of all-stars in my area and all over the auxiliary world. I had the pleasure of attending several commissioning ceremonies from our AUP units last year, and so I have real high hopes with the quality of officers that are going into the Coast Guard. This is really good stuff. I know of at least 15 just in the Eastern District that have received commissions in the last year, so this is good stuff. Now, in our southernmost district, they are working on, with other districts too, an AI system, and they're working on this to develop a system, potential and existing members finding an answer for anything. So how do I join the auxiliary? How do I become a flotilla commander if I'm a member, or a coxswain, or whatever you can think of? Right now, you type that in on AI, you have no idea what's going on. AI will lie to you and make stuff up if it doesn't know. I tried to get the jobs report 2 weeks ago, right at 8:30 on a Thursday morning, just to see how bad if the Dow Jones is going to tank. AI says, don't worry, it's 143 new jobs, or 43,000 new jobs and everything. Well, it was half of that, and things did tank, and I thought, AI just lied to me. So anyway, we're trying to get like a bucket of answers, so you don't have to worry about all that stuff, and Martin and others are leading that charge. We also have speaking of all-stars, we have one member, auxiliarist, and to further this, he's going to be meeting with us. Hopefully he can make it down this week. And he serves as a White House appointment as Deputy Undersecretary for the National Institutes of Standards and Technology. And in layman's terms, that he's in charge of AI for the United States civilian component. So he will be down here and has offered his help to do whatever. So we have some great people that are working on this. But I tried to find out, he's so busy, I tried to find out what time we wanted to do our 4th of July patrol on the Potomac, but he was up camping with the Sea Scouts at the Boy Scout camp in Goshen. So he's a busy guy in all sorts of arenas. But we have a lot of people that do that kind of thing. And additionally, with the AUP programs, the Sea Scouts, we're recruiting moms and dads who are associated with that. The word gets out and they want to be a part of us. So that's worked out very well. I got 50 seconds, is that right?
No, you've got 5 minutes.
Oh, 5 minutes, okay.
The time, you're good. Keep going.
Okay.
I'll tell you when to.
Keep going, John.
Everybody's messing with me, okay. So,
AI stuff.
okay, so, it's the AI lying to me again. In the RBS department, our aux paddlers are busy. Joey Tagooting, which many of you know, he worked on I think it was our first SAR rescue with his paddlecraft earlier this year on the Potomac River. He was in a shallow area, went and got the distressed swimmer and brought him out to get a larger boat to get him to shore and rescue him. That's the first time that I know of, so hats off to Joey. You might have recognized him last year with the Superman cape on. So he should still be wearing his Superman cape, in my estimation. We're going to go back more so for RBS, how you affect things, and you don't even know how you affect things. 2 weeks ago, I recognized a Facebook post from Kourtney Kardashian. Did you all see that? And her she's not one of my Facebook buddies, but I can live with that. But she didn't have a life jacket on her 21-month-old son there on a boat. And so the social media got after him and her and criticized and this and that. Next picture was thanking everybody for pointing that out, and here's a new picture of that. So the word gets out, and so that word could have come from somebody in this room to next people, and this and that. So the word gets out that that's the thing to do. And so your efforts in RBS, they really do a lot. We're on the prevention side, so you don't really know how many lives you save, but everything we do can save a life. I got one cool story to tell. One of my friends, one of my old buddies down in Kerr County, Texas, down there in the hill country where all the tragic flooding was earlier this year, he called me up one day and he sent me some pictures, And the Coast Guard and the Marine One Advanced Team asked to use his airstrip on his property to conduct operations. So I've got pictures of Hilo 635453 doing that, and the Osprey that was doing that. So I'm trying to recruit him. Now he's kind of got an in and a connection. He knows how cool things are in the Coast Guard. So hopefully I can recruit him. And lastly, I got a letter from one of our Sea Scouts. We put 3 Sea Scouts in the academy in the last few years there in Ship 25. And Pierce Lilly, who I got to speak to at our D-Train last year, he sent me a thank you note right in the middle of Swab Summer. And I don't know how he has time to do anything, but he sent me a letter thanking me and the auxiliary and the Sea Scouts. I thought, well, I didn't do anything to get him in there. He went to the academy to visit via the AIM program, graduated with honor, graduated top of his class with honors, and they gave him a letter of assurance right there when he was there. So he wrote to me thanking me and telling me he's really enjoying even getting screamed at and doing this, getting up at the crack of dawn, and they're getting ready to go, I think, to the Eagle here in the next couple weeks out west. So he is thrilled to death, and he's going to speak to the Sea Scout group in December, which I'll be there. So I want to thank everybody for their support with me, and thank everybody in Land East. We're grateful for everybody's service. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commodore. We want to hear from DNACO Atlantic West Mission Support, Sonny Thatch.
Good morning, everyone. I have the honor of leading the 6 districts of Atlantic West and 6 directors that comprises ForceCom. I will begin with Heartland Coastal, led by Commodore Doug Ritchie and Chief of Staff Donna Day. I would be remiss to not recognize the service of Commodore George Tate, who, due to health concerns, made the difficult but selfless decision to resign as District Commodore. I wish him well and thank him for his service to the auxiliary. Thank you to Commodore Ritchie and Donna Day for stepping up to lead this great district. Heartland Coastal deployed members and service assets from three divisions to work with partner agencies in on-the-water safety and security at the Pensacola Beach Air Show and Blue Angels home event in July. And they're preparing for their D-Train, which is next week. One of their aircraft and crew conducted 3 SAR prosecutions along the Gulf of America, while their boats and PWCs rescued stranded vessels and injured citizens during the summer. For Great Lakes District, Eastern Region, led by Commodore Steve Botsford and Chief of Staff Carm Laurer, Division 1 participated in joint Army-Navy Coast Guard exercises on 18 July along the perimeter patrol. The exercise consisted of Army members jumping into the St. Lawrence River and being rescued by a Navy patrol boat. They also participated in joint practice oil spill boom deployment on 31 July. Other participants included Coast Guard Marine Safety Unit Thousand Islands and a police marine patrol, the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation Spill Response, and the St. Lawrence Seaway Development Corporation. They also taught 635 students through the ABS course this year. Their Division 2 continued supporting Station Sodas Point by conducting patrols out of the station weekly, and one patrol did include a SAR. They held joint EMS training at Station Sodas Point with Wayne County EMS and NYS Police. Their Division 3 was completely integrated into the sector Eastern Great Lakes Change of Command ceremony, with members working the gate security, acting as ushers, participating in the honor guard, and in the staff inspection performed by the incoming and outgoing sector commanders. And all 6 auxiliaries participated. Their Division 4 integrated with Station Rochester during Coast Guard Day, August 4th. They paid close attention to the seating to arrange for each auxiliary to sit next to an active duty Coast Guard member. So that's some, I'm sure, great mentoring and story swapping there. Division 6, 5 members, along with the District's 2 OxPad instructors, participated at the paddlecraft training in the Black River at Station Lorraine in July. and their Division 7 culinary assistants are continuing to support not only stations Cleveland and Lorraine, but also the Cutter, Nia Bay, and the Admiral's Quarters. The Auxiliaries also provided the Easter meal for the active duty. Heartland Western Rivers, led by Commodore Bob Arisman and Chief of Staff Chris Ware, provided a couple of highlights. They have multiple boat crew academies across the district to increase their operational capability, and a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day PA exhibit and VE station at Lake Shelbyville. And they have 62 new member applications year to date. And finally, a week-long joint operational exercise with U.S. Army Special Forces involving 2 AUX facilities and crew. Great Lakes Western Region, led by Commodore Rob Kumpf and Chief of Staff Craig Feldy. The Great Lakes District Western Region members have been busy the first half of 2025, serving nearly 7,200 operational hours in the afloat and aloft, saving nearly 90 lives, one of which made national headlines, and just about $2 million in property. In addition to saving lives and property, their members have spent 1,202 hours conducting training to be more prepared for Coast Guard Great Lakes District missions across Sector Lake, Michigan, equating to just over 200 hours of training per month since January. They are also home to the 2024 National Flotilla of the Year, as well as National Auxiliaries of the Year. And their District Commodore was just appointed as an honorary Chief Petty Officer by the Commandant and MCPOG, the first ever Auxiliary Commodore to receive this honor. All told, the district members have served nearly 53 hours of volunteer service in the last 6 months, approximately 63 hours per month per member. Great Lakes Central Region, led by Commodore Mark Villeneuve and Chief of Staff Chris Stevens. The membership is at a net down, despite an increase in new member applications. RBS outreach activities have reached an audience of more than 245,000 people across the district with television spots and billboards. And public education has seen an increase of 204%. Heartland District, Eastern Region, led by Commodore Ron Bonneau and Chief of Staff Anthony Waters. Their aviation team of professional pilots, crew, and flight photographers support Sector 8 with flights and photography of the flooded rivers and affected areas. They provide a recruitment of additional pilots with facilities across their AOR, and through their leadership received required training with an outstanding safety record. Their culinary mission, led by their team, has been training and certifying CA1s for the last 5 years. Their team of CAs are highly respected and appreciated for the outstanding meals and support they provide to the Chattanooga, Tennessee unit. They have had to slow down their training and certifications until they get more requests from the active duty for culinary staff for a bi-yearly schedule. So just some parting notes. I encourage all the district chiefs of staff, commodores, directors, and deputies to cross the literal aisle and get to know your counterparts. One of the key benefits of having this in-person training opportunity is to build those relationships which can get tangible results for your members. It is much more effective to work a problem over the phone when you know the person on the other end of the line. For example, with the renaming of our districts, new logos and branding is needed. The aid director stands ready to assist with those creative services. This process has underscored the importance of file management. So as districts pursue new designs, please send those files up to the public affairs so they are never lost due to officer transition. For those directors looking to fill critical positions, I encourage you to contact the district chiefs of staff for recommendations. So again, build those relationships. Thank you.
Thank you, Commodore Thatch. We will now hear from DNACO, PAC Area, and Operations, Michael Borsoth.
Thank you, Kelly. Good morning. And thank you, NACO, for your gracious remarks this morning regarding uniform. And really pointing out there's only one person in this big room that is out of uniform this morning.
You're not the only one this week, though.
All right, fair enough. Thank you, sir. It is a privilege to be representing operations and the PAC area leadership teams this afternoon. With respect to operations, tomorrow at the operational training review, you will hear firsthand from the individual operations directorates, prevention, response, international affairs, and emergency management. And to avoid stealing any of their thunder, and you can count on some thunder tomorrow from these groups, so don't miss it. I will point out that the team members that I work with across all these directorates truly represent an elite group, skilled, hardworking, and selfless individuals that I'm proud to be associated with. Operations team, just raise your hands so we know who you are. Thank you. And DCOs and chiefs of staff, if you haven't already, please introduce yourself to any of the operations team members and get engaged with them while you're here this week. I think you'll be impressed with them as I am. With respect to PAC area, at N-Train, I introduced the PAC area to you and shared with you our 25 and 26 priorities: force readiness, growing and engaging our membership, and inter-district collaboration. And today I'd like to update you on just one of those inter-district programs. And that's the PAC area Auxiliary Communications Team, PACT, led by Mr. Bill Schultz, with full support from all 5 district leadership teams, and was established in Q4 last year. PACT is developing a PAC area-wide contingency communications network in support of active duty communications, traffic when needed, also known as bad day scenarios. And I want to share with you 2 major accomplishments. First, a major expansion. We are on track to double the number of our radio assets to make up this network complex. As of January 1, we had 12 over-the-horizon radio facilities across the 2 Southwest districts. As of July 1st, after working closely with the Northwest District, Arctic District, and Oceania District, that resource has grown to over 18 radio facilities, with another 4 to be brought on board by the end of this year. PACT is now underway and making way. Until we started this program, there were no auxiliary radio facilities afloat on Coast Guard assets. In just 10 months, working with the active duty afloat commanders and crews and telecommunications division chief of the PAC area, the number of facilities committed has grown to 2 cutters, with the 3rd committed by the beginning of calendar year 26. It is hard to overstate the importance of this breakthrough, both in terms of capability and reach. The PACT radio facility has been installed and tested on board the equipment of the Coast Guard cutter Healy. In addition, Coast Guard cutter Healy now has an approved standard operating procedure to govern the use of auxiliary provided radio equipment. In Q1 of 25, Coast Guard cutter Polar Star reached out and requested similar service. That equipment has now been provided to her and will be installed when she comes out of the dry dock this summer. And we'll be doing the same for Coast Guard cutter Storis. And this installation will start shortly following their recent commission in Juneau, Alaska, just last week. Now, I could not be more pleased with our progress here, and it represents an outstanding example of a PAC area inter-district collaboration and the creation of a high-value asset run by the Auxiliary Active Duty Collaboration. With respect to the PAC area districts, I'll now share some updates from East District in the PAC area. And in preparing for this, I asked the district commodores to offer up 2 things that they were most proud of since we last met. And here's what they said. I'll start with Southwest District, Northern Region, NorCal, Northern Nevada, Northern Utah, led by Commodore Jim Losey and Randy McCormick. District leadership has adopted an all-in focus on recruiting, retention, and engagement. Notably, the 3 primary initiatives that make up the district's top priority is led by their most senior folks, their DCO, their chief of staff, and their immediate past district commander, Commodore. Recruiting a Net 3 strategy is developed, and they are executing it and seeing measurable results, and has been a source of real pride for the leadership team. Our division commanders have embraced this initiative, and the results are showing. Out of 10 divisions, 5 are highly productive at this point, and as of July 31, our members stands at 940, up from 906, in the start of the year. That's a 4% net increase year to date, which puts them on track for a 6.5% net growth for the year. There has been extended consequences of the Net 3 program. It's driven a renewed leadership presence across the district, and in order to recruit and teach others to recruit, we have needed to be visible at division and flotilla meetings, and members have noticed. And as a result, their engagement has grown significantly. A clear proxy for this engagement of the members is the attendance of their monthly board meetings, which has increased in some cases up to 100%. In Jim's words, something very positive is happening. With the district, morale and engagement are trending in the right direction, and our leaders are embracing the momentum. The Southwest District, Southern Region, SoCal, Southern Nevada, South Utah, Arizona, led by Commodore Rod Donahue and Chief of Staff Chris Milano. And here you can hear something old that gets better and something new with a nod to inter-district collaboration. Request for forces. Now into year 3 of this program, there's been continued to be a top priority and highlights for the Southern Region. Through the ASCs and AUCs, they've established continuity with sectors LALB and San Diego and are continuing to be responsive to those sector needs. The RFF program has accumulated over 7,000 mission hours year to date, and notably, their CA program is on track to grow their certified cadre from 22 to 32 this year to keep up with the demand. They're also embarking on a marine domain awareness program. They've been requested to participate in the efforts to secure the southern border through observation reporting. Towards that end, the assistance with OTO Esselman in particular, they've developed a procedures guide consisting of observation by land, sea, and air. And by direction of Admiral Bozzella, their initial efforts are in reestablishing the air program, which we are doing with the assistance of the National Staff and Commodore Losi and his staff in the Southwest District, Northern Region. This takes me to the Northwest District, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, led by Commodore Klaus Nihus and Chief of Staff Mark Hannibal. And the common theme here includes an emphasis on membership growth and engagement. And while this is being led by the district leadership, their progress recognizes a strong focus on the mid-tier units. And you'll also pick up on some inter-district collaboration here too. Growth. As part of our strategy retreat, this spring, they've adopted the Net 3 campaign. This has already paid off in a strong increase in members. As of 31 July, our membership stands at 784, up from 750 at the start of the year. That's a 4.5% net increase year to date, which puts them on an 8% net growth by year end. With respect to engagement, examples of their mid-tier units taking initiative include multiple area training events with offerings and for the cross-section of their members, new members, boat crew, reoccurring town halls, strong attendance as a result of that, and a focus on succession planning through AFLC training and other leadership resources. Their operational missions and welcoming new members and more missions are taking place, resulting in successful growth and a number of boat crew and coxswains. Oceania District, Hawaii, Guam, American Samoa, Northern Mariana Islands, led by Commodore Jody Nelson. Emphasis here again is on member growth and engagement. A strong increase in new members, net new members. As of July 31, our membership stands at 386, up from 362 at the start of the year. That's a 6.5% net increase year to date, which puts them on track for 11% growth for the year. Successful implementation and active training on demand program that provides online training to all district members really has helped to overcome their large geographical footprint. And finally, Arctic District, Alaska, led by Commodore David Larkin and Chief of Staff Chester Williams. Something new here, and a great example of some high-value augmentation. The Arctic District has never had an Oxpad program. Due to the tangible public need, current leadership has worked to overcome past reservations through the use of PPE appropriate for the waters. After following all the safety protocols and qualification steps listed in the Oxpad program, 2 members have attained ACA Level 2 instructor quals and their own and one is now the QA. The Oxped program has now been firmly established at both sectors. Routine Oxped patrols have occurred without issue and have had one SAR call out from Sector Southeast Alaska to perform a search under peers. Under sector direct support and augmentation, over the past year, Arctic District Auxiliary members have become active in day-to-day operations at the sectors. Members have obtained ICS qualifications not held by the active duty, reserve, or civilians and are listed on the Watch Quarter Station Bill for the incident management reviews. One member renewed their secret clearance, became qualified, and is actively standing weekly situation unit watches in the Sector Command Center. Another member is going through the clearance process now to stand communication unit watch. In addition, we have members working weekly for a Sector Incident Management Division conducting missile reviews. Really an outstanding report this year so far, and I could not be more proud to be representing you all up here this afternoon. In summary, membership growth and inter-district collaboration to level up our force readiness continues to be PAC area's call to action. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Commodore. We will now hear from DNACO, Information Technology and Planning, Linda Merriman.
Good morning, everyone. I'm really pleased to be here to have the opportunity to talk about some of the things that are happening in Information Technology and Planning's 3 directorates under the leadership of Assistant National Commodore Amanda Constant and Deputy Joseph Espino. First, an IT-wide project is underway to plan for the replacement of the auxiliary web infrastructure. The 15-year-old Websites Without Webmasters system has served us well, but it relies on outdated technology that needs to be replaced to maintain currency with industry and security best practices. A request for information document detailing the project needs and solution requirements is being completed. The next steps are to select 3 to 5 commercial or open source options for evaluation for fit for both use and cost. Once a platform has been identified and approved, a detailed plan for design, development, end-user testing, training, and migration will be developed. The team will be talking to the districts to collect additional information about what needs to be available to provide the right look and feel for those unit websites. The Computer Software and Systems Directorate is led by Director Carlos Arenas and Deputy Michael Moore. Their focus is on the design, development, production, and maintenance of the underlying technologies, equipment, and solutions essential to the auxiliary. Expanding on the solution that automated data transfers in support of the L2 messaging system and investigation of secure and approved methodologies that will enable automatic transfer of information from AUX Data 2 to auxiliary databases is in progress. The objective is to schedule regular data downloads to provide timely availability of member and unit information in products such as AUX Directory, eliminating the need for manually initiated data transfers. Assessment of a suite of tools to support program management tracking for directorate and cross-directorate strategic plan initiatives and to resolve issues with forms availability for unit websites is underway. The same tool has the potential to provide a significantly lower cost help desk solution, something that is actively under investigation. The team is working on key infrastructure hardware projects, including the development of server refresh. This server provides, including the development server refresh. I can't read my own notes. This server provides a standard system with all current software patches and protections necessary for secure use. Additionally, they rebuilt the security interaction database, resolving an issue of uncontrolled growth that degraded performance of the main auxiliary web server. The Web Services Group continues to provide auxiliary-wide support, responding to requests for page updates and broken link fixes. They conducted a comprehensive review of the network monitoring platform to verify the accuracy of all tasks to ensure reliability. New processes were implemented to track SSL certificate dates, significantly reducing the risk of service interruptions due due to expired certificates. Overall system security was improved with the implementation of two-factor authentication on multiple Gmail accounts that are used for relaying messages. The User Support and Services Directorate is led by Director Bill Ballard and Deputy David Gaylord. Their focus is support of information services staff officers and communication services staff officers. Aux Data 2, operating the national help desks and managing cgoxnet.us email accounts. The 2024 value of the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary Report was recently completed. It is the 11th in a series of annual reports produced in accordance with a Coast Guard-approved methodology. The principal finding for 2024 is that for every $1 that the Coast Guard invests in the auxiliary, it receives back $9.53 in services and cash equivalents. This is consistent with 2023's $9.82 and 2022's $9.57 return, but remains significantly lower than 2019's $12.54 result. While the disruptions resulting from the COVID pandemic lockdowns that began in March of 2020 are now largely overcome, it appears that the auxiliary has reached a steady state that is somewhat lower than it might have been in the absence of COVID. Some of the decline may also be attributed to the loss of approximately 2,500 members between 2020 and 2024. However, despite these factors, the report demonstrates that the auxiliary continues to represent a substantial value proposition to the Coast Guard. It is important to note that the source of most of the base data is Aux Data 2. There are inherent limitations when we use self-reported data. Most likely that results in undervaluing auxiliary contributions, and the best way to improve that is for every leader to continue to emphasize accurate and complete reporting by members of their activities. Last quarter, the Aux 10 Information Services Officer Training C-School instructors delivered one virtual class to 32 students with a passing rate of 80%, which continues the improvement seen beginning in 2023 after the course materials were revised. An in-person class was held in April at the East District Southern Region D-Train, and an in-person class was conducted here earlier. Actually, it's going on right now, this week. Those interested in taking the Aux 10 course may find detailed information on the U Directorate webpage. In addition to conducting classes, the team revised the 670-page Aux 10 slide deck to accurately reflect all changes made to the Aux Data 2 screens. To preserve the integrity of the course's open book final examination, a second version of the exam was created to allow for retests of students who failed the first try. Oversight of national IT-supported websites is performed by the U Directorate Website Review Group, which provides written recommendations to the appropriate unit CS officer to correct any website policy compliance issues. They periodically review these websites against a standard checklist of requirements and best practices. However, information that was current and accurate when it was published may become obsolete or incorrect if the content is not regularly maintained. A policy document for addressing the disposition of such websites is under internal review. It will describe the steps and timelines for units to work with the U Directorate to either remediate issues or to request closure of obsolete sites. Requests from units for national approval of their websites have increased, likely due to the removal of the obsolete errors pages from the Flotilla Finder function on the national website. This is a positive outcome, as it's causing units to update their sites to regain visibility on internal and external searches. A critical service provided to members, the Coast Guard, and the public by the IT group is the help desks. Last quarter, the cross-functional National Help Desk team processed 778 tickets, representing 721 customers. This was a 12% decrease from Q1. 43% of the tickets were resolved at first contact. On the Aux Data 2 side, there were 683 service requests submitted, a decrease of 21% from Q1. As with Q1, approximately half of the reports concerned financial systems modernization solution errors caused by estimated obligations for patrol orders. The Cybersecurity Directorate is led by Director Cliff Neve, the deputy position is newly vacant, and a search is actively underway for a replacement. Their focus is delivery of cybersecurity services to proactively protect auxiliary information technology assets and solutions, response to cybersecurity incidents, delivery of cybersecurity awareness products and educational information to members, and partnering with the Coast Guard to plan, staff, and execute cybersecurity augmentation support. Work on the internal Crown Jewels Assessment and Analysis Project accurately captured an auxiliary-wide inventory of national technology assets. It defined a risk model to identify the necessary level of protective controls to be implemented. This risk model is being applied to each of the identified IT and data assets. Of the 42 captain of the port zones with a Coast Guard Maritime Transportation Security Specialist Cyber, the Directorate has connected 15 with cyber-capable auxiliaries, up from 13 in Q1. The goal is to assign auxiliary augmentees to every captain of the port zone by the end of this year. The Cybersecurity Director attended the Maritime Cybersecurity Summit and interfaced with representatives from Coast Guard Cyber and the Coast Guard Office of Port and Facility Compliance. He provided an outbrief on the Cyber Summit to the Area Maritime Security Committee on behalf of the Commanding Officer of Sector St. Petersburg. And lastly, the staff continues to provide webinars and education to the active duty, including training on artificial intelligence and its impact on maritime cybersecurity, security operations, and security vulnerabilities. The Coast Guard is storing these webinars in a library to use for future workforce training. So those are just a few highlights of what's happening in IT. The IT leaders will cover more in tomorrow's operational training review. Thank you. Okay.
All right. I'm always so proud to hear what the things that are going on in our districts and in our directorates, and I'm looking forward to OPCOM tomorrow to hear more. Thank you, Captain and Commodores, for your updates. Again, they were really great. Mrs. Chrysalis, do we have any announcements today?
We do, as always. A couple of things, and you'll hear these same ones throughout the week. If you, when you registered, you did not give a tax-exempt form, they have those at registration. Please make sure you have your tax-exempt form for the room. It's easier to do it now than it is to do it once you've left here and you're trying to get reimbursed for that tax. Also, you get 10% off at food and beverage at the restaurants in the hotel, so make sure you tell them you're with the Coast Guard Auxiliary group, and you should get a 10% discount on that. And then just as a reminder, tomorrow we have OPCOM, and that will start first thing in the afternoon tomorrow, after lunchtime for OPCOM. All right, and then we're going to take a quick break.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and take a 15-minute break.
Perfect.
So let's be back at 9:35 or 15 minutes from whatever your watch says. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to get started here in just a second, so if you can go ahead and get your seats, please. All right, take your seats, please. We're going to get started. First time was a suggestion. This time is get in your seat.
Okay, I now reconvene the meeting of the Committee of the Whole. I can attest that NextCom is present. Our national...
Yep, he's here. Bob?
Where's Bob? Oh, gotcha, okay. So everybody's returned from break. Dean Nakos, please confirm that your DCOs or DCOSs in their absence have rejoined the meeting. Commodore Krogman?
Yes.
Okay. Commodore Thatch?
Yeah.
Okay. Commodore Boz?
Back area is in the house.
I love it, thank you.
All right, thank you all. We will now hear from President of the National Association of Commodores, Commodore Bob Schaefer. You're welcome.
We use this one?
You can use whichever one you please.
I'll use this one. Saves a trip. Thank you, Commodore. And greetings to all. I'm Bob Schaefer, President of the National Association of Commodores, and I'm honored to be part of the excellent leadership team of the National Association of Commodores, which includes Commodore Clark Godshall, our Vice President, Commodore Bob Lauer, our Treasurer and immediate past President, Commodore Carolyn Belmore, our Secretary, and Commodore Peter Jensen, who is our Registrar. Our ongoing mission is to leverage the expertise of our members and to assist the National Commodore and the National I thought maybe they were getting the hook. Wouldn't be the first time. All right. Well, anyway, our ongoing mission is to leverage the expertise of our members, our distinguished Commodores, to assist our National Commodore and the board in carrying out the programs of the auxiliary. And we provide a forum for active dialogue with our elected leaders and a resource of trained and motivated leaders. And we invite all newly elected or appointed Commodores to join us. Now, a major project of the NAC is the completion of a memorial monument dedicated to honoring auxiliary Commodores who've passed over the bar, rather, not the lawyers. Some of them could be, but anyway. Well, anyway, these were exemplary leaders who devoted countless hours to making the auxiliary one of the world's most prominent volunteer maritime organizations. And the memorial monument is 2 large marble stones. It's inscribed with the names of all national Commodores who have passed away and of all other Commodores who have passed since 2005. Well, I'm very, very pleased to report that in the coming days, the monument will be installed in a place of honor at the U.S. Coast Guard Training Center at Cape May, New Jersey. Earlier, the monument was transported from Michigan, where it was originally constructed, to New Jersey, and our vendor in Cape May, the stonemasonry firm there, has confirmed that installation at the training center will begin next week on the 26th of August. And then once it's installed, the names of some additional Commodores will be added to the monument, and then we will be working on some sort of an appropriate ceremony to dedicate the monument once it's all in place. And I want to acknowledge and thank Commodore Bob Lauer for his excellent work in shepherding this very important project through completion, we hope, in the next week. I was very privileged to join with the Dean Akos in the process of considering the excellent applications and providing recommendations to NACO for selection of Flotilla of the Year. And congratulations again to this year's Flotilla of the Year in the Great Lakes District Western Region, Flotilla 35-6 of Chicago. What an outstanding group, as they all were. And our feeling was, gosh, we wish we could make all of these applicants Flotilla of the Year, but there can only be one. We're looking forward to the first ever U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary Leadership Cruise, which will occur this December. This will be a Caribbean cruise, and it's open to all Commodores, and it's also open to all other auxiliary leaders. So we'll combine fellowship with nautical adventure, lots of fun. If you're interested, please contact me or Commodore Clark Godshall, who is organizing this, for more information on this. We'd love to have you aboard. And finally, all Commodores are invited to attend the NAC luncheon that is coming up this Saturday. And at that time, we'll conduct our annual meeting, including holding our elections, among other things, during the meeting. And we look forward to seeing all of you there. Thank you for your very kind attention.
Thank you, Commodore Schaefer. We will now hear from our National Commodore, Mary Kirkwood, on the state of the auxiliary.
All right, thank you. Thank you. And again, welcome everybody. I want to start by saying, I say this every time, what an incredible time to be an auxiliarist. But this really is an incredible time to be an auxiliarist. We are the world's best volunteer maritime organization, and we get to work alongside and support the world's best Coast Guard. What an absolute thrill. I have been in several positions. I hold several different credentials and competencies, and every time I work with active duty in the Coast Guard, it's just such a thrill, and I learn so much, so thank you. We save lives, we cook on cutters, we provide needed medical interpreter services, we fly drones, we provide spiritual counseling when families are at their darkest hours. Our missions continue to grow in number and complexity every year. We've had some bumps and challenges along the way, especially in the last 6-8 months. We've successfully fulfilled several executive orders that stress some of our roles and challenge us to think in a different way in the way we do things. But we've met those challenges straight on, and we're still here. We're doing great. In fact, we're doing awesome. So thank you all for your support in getting that stuff done and the challenges. Of course, a recent challenge was the renaming of districts. We're still in the process of that, but again, we're working through it. We're going to get there. So how is it going, the renaming of districts? You guys okay? Parts are okay? Yeah? So, business cards, challenge coins, anything you've got with your old district names, you could keep using those until you need to reorder and then reorder with the new name, right? For district logos, as Sunny had asked, Comet for Thatch said, please work with Rick Corrales and Public Affairs to get your logos done. And we're looking at, is it possible maybe, because if you need to do new district flags or flotilla flags with your new name, then we're going to see if we can maybe get a group order going and make it a little cheaper for everybody. But those are some challenges that we face, but again, it's all going to be good in the end. We're all going to get there and it'll be great. So regardless of the challenge, we always find a way to succeed and flourish from that. Our Commandant, Admiral Lundy, recently said, we're the best in the world at what we do. He's talking about the Coast Guard in general, of which he includes us in that. Coast Guard, active duty reserves, civilians, and auxiliary. That's how Admiral Lundy, our Commandant, sees the Coast Guard. We are part of the Coast Guard. Interesting, though, our new MCPOG posed the question following that, but what if we could do it better? We're the best, but what if we could do it better? How many have read the executive summary for Force Design 2028? I want to see most of your hands up. Excellent. Did anybody get to watch town halls? A few, because as we found out, when I found out the first time when I went to watch the live one, you needed to have an ALAC card or a NEATS token and to get onto the system to see it. But you can find them on the H Directorate. On the left-hand side, there's this thing that says Force Design 2028, and the H Directorate has put the first two up there. So please go and take a look. They're behind the member zone, so you need to log in. But that's a good way for you to see the first two. The first two were on organization and on what was the second one on? Contracting and acquisitions. Thank you, Pat. So. And I want to shout out to the H Directorate for doing that, because if not, our members would not have access. Many of our members, most of our members, would not have access to see those town halls. And as you know, sometimes it's just better to hear it from the top and to hear it live versus reading a document on it. So please go ahead and do that. So Force Design 2028 is a bold new blueprint for change. It's to increase readiness, to increase resilience, and to transform the Coast Guard into a more agile and capable fighting force. I had not considered the Coast Guard a fighting force until I heard those words. But times are changing. Our global outlook is different than it was 5-10 years ago. And you can see the writing on the wall in terms of what's going to happen perhaps the next 2, 3, 4 years globally if things continue the way they are. So Coast Guard needs to be an agile and capable fighting force. And the readiness is in 3 different aspects. So number 1 is operational assets. Number 2 is organizational readiness. And number 3 is individual readiness. And then they're talking about medical and dental, making sure our troops are ready, and looking at physical fitness. For the auxiliary, we need to increase our readiness as well by keeping our operational assets ready to respond when needed, to ensure our organization stays ready by keeping policies and practices to support our members doing the work, and individual readiness by keeping current in our training and competencies and staying physically fit. I know that's not one of our key components of the auxiliary, but I would say that we need to look at that. The Coast Guard just put out new 2025 Coast Guard fitness standards, and V. NACO and I had the pleasure, was it a pleasure? I'm not sure it was a pleasure, to work out with a senior leadership group, and that's the Admirals and Master Chiefs, back when we were in headquarters back in May, to work on the new physical fitness standards. So we were out there in our gym clothes, and we did the best we could, and we did well. Certainly, we're both, we're both a couple decades older than most of them in there. But again, the standards are written to age groups, and so I challenge you all to take a look at them and see what you can do to help improve your physical fitness to be ready. And it's not just physical fitness. When you do physical fitness, it increases your mental fitness and everything. So I encourage each of you to read the new standards and see how close your fitness matches those recommended for active duty Coast Guard. I'm on that journey. I've lost 25 pounds, and I am working out, and I'm hoping to work with a trainer. Yeah, I'm certainly not there with push-ups, but I'm hoping to get there. And no more sit-ups, which is good. They found even the young, active duty were having back injuries from too many sit-ups. But I encourage all of you to start looking and seeing what you could do. It helps you, makes you feel better. So in Force Design 2028, there are four campaigns. They call them campaigns. There's organization, there's people, technology, and contracting and acquisitions. The auxiliary is called out specifically in the people campaign. I've heard a lot of people say, well, they didn't even mention us. We are mentioned. And when I talked to the Vice Commandant about a month ago, he said, no, definitely, Mary, we are expecting huge things from the auxiliary. We need the support of the auxiliary as we go forward. So into strategic imperative P1, P for people, I assume, is grow the Coast Guard's future force starting today. As you've heard, they're looking to increase by 15,000 people over the next couple of years. So key enabler P1-1, modernize and expand accessions, advancements, and promotions for active duty and reserve components. And a subset under that is, we will charge the Coast Guard Auxiliary to develop innovative ways to leverage private sector experience to enhance recruiting outreach. Recruiting for both active duty and for the auxiliary. As they grow 15,000, we need to grow as well to support. Key enabler 1.4 is leverage the Coast Guard Auxiliary to the full extent of its authorities. So we need to be at our full extent of our authorities. And I think we're going to see more missions. We've seen so many different missions. I started after 9/11, and back then, we had a handful of missions that we could do. Certainly in my flotilla, we weren't doing a lot of different flotilla things. We were doing vessel safety checks and programs and public education and boat crew and all those sorts of things, but not a lot of others. But the things we're doing now, the missions are just, I don't even know all the things that we're doing. Every time I go to a district, I hear of another mission that the district's doing that I'm not even aware of. It's not in the Aux manual. It's not in the Aux manual. The Aux manual, the last edition was 2011, and things have changed in the last 15 years. So under that, leveraging the auxiliary to the full extent of its authorities, the subset is we will bolster Coast Guard auxiliary recruitment across the country, targeting those who desire to serve the nation in the Coast Guard, but are otherwise unable to serve in the active or reserve status. All right, so it's giving us license and expectations. So let's talk about recruitment. Let's talk about where we are with our membership. We are under 20,000. Right after World War II, we were at our peak of 50,000. We're down to 20,000. We continue to lose about 2.5% per year nationwide across the board. We often, in every district, I guarantee, we probably bring in a fair amount of new members. But we also have usually more that disenroll, cross the bar, retire, and are no longer there. So we need to turn that around. Since N-Train, we've had a net gain of 316 members across the country. That's pretty good. So again, the directives are to develop innovative ways to leverage private sector experience to enhance recruiting outreach. So that to me is targeted recruitment. So we'll do some targeted recruitment and find innovative ways to enhance that. We'll bolster, I guess, again, auxiliary recruitment across the country, targeting those who desire to be in the Coast Guard but otherwise unable to serve in active or reserve status. So what are we doing on a more national level for recruitment? So there's a lot of things that H Directorate's doing and the T Directorate's doing in terms of recruitment and training our new folks. So we invited the DSO HRs here this week. I wanted to make that a priority so that we can get the word out, we can do some training with them and really kickstart this and get it going even more. So I'll be kicking it off tomorrow. They'll be here tomorrow and Friday. I'll be kicking off the session tomorrow with highlighting the urgency for increasing our membership. And so we'll start with that. I'll also discuss the Force Design 2028 initiatives. They will also have the opportunity to share best practices across the districts. We heard a little bit about some of our districts and how well they're doing in recruitment and increasing their membership. Again, it's not just recruitment, it's got to be retention, right? We've got to retain as well, or we're going to lose. We've invited Commodore Jim Losey. Jim, where are you? There you are. To come and share his Net 3 campaign from D11 North, or as we are now saying, Southwest North region. Hard for us in the San Francisco Bay Area to think of us as Southwest, but it is what it is. So he's already had a 4% increase this year. And they really, took a while to get started, so it's really in the last 3 or 4 or 5 months that they've been able to increase so much. He'll be there both Thursday and also on Friday. Thursday he'll talk about recruitment, and Friday he'll talk about retention, because the Net 3 campaign is not just bringing new members in, it's also about retaining members. And they've got a great program that talks about the first year. How do we get people through their first year? Because that's when we catch them, right? That's when we get them addicted to the auxiliary and addicted to service to our nation. Also, you have probably seen, and we'll talk a bit in a few more minutes, about the recommendation before the board that I submitted to reduce the criteria for their auxiliary recruitment award from recruiting 7 members per year down to 3 new members per year. And it's not necessarily on a calendar, it's within a year, so it's kind of a rolling. So a lot of times people say, well, why is there's no reason for me to recruit somebody in November because they're not going to get through BQ and till the next year, and then I won't get the credit for them. So we're going to do something with that. So that's before the board this week. I think it makes it more attainable for members, and I think that means there's more members incentivized and therefore more new members. But for me, it's not just about numbers, it's also about quality, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes as well. The other thing I want to announce that I talked to ASOC about yesterday, or the day before, I'm sure it was yesterday, is that we put together a proposal before the Coast Guard Auxiliary Association, and the board agreed with putting aside $250,000 dedicated specifically for recruitment and retention. Okay, so those grants will be available for districts, for divisions and flotillas, and directorates to work on recruitment and retention. And if you need some funding to help support some of those programs, then that will be available to you. We had a vetting committee chaired by Commodore Larry King that put together kind of the process. We need an SOP and a process and a form to submit that. And I want to shout out to Barry Denton. Where's Barry? Okay, Barry's the one who crafted the SOP that everybody put their thoughts into, but thank you for doing that and getting that started. It's hard sometimes with a committee of 8 or 10 to put together something like an SOP. You need one person to kind of draft the first, and he was the one who did that, so thank you so much. This week we also have our emergency management DSOs here. So enhancing auxiliary response to disasters, both through member welfare checks for those who might be affected by the disaster, but also how our members can provide support to the Coast Guard and other agencies who respond to our communities. So they'll be talking about that. That's one of the topics and one of the main focuses this week while they're here Thursday and Friday is working on that. And an example of such a response most recently is during the Texas and New Mexico floods. Horrible, right? Just as horrible as our hurricanes, as our fires, all of it. We're just seeing more and more natural disasters. We had 29 auxiliaries who spent 151 hours. They donated 151 hours to FEMA, conducting 106 geospatial assessments for Texas and 121 geospatial assessments for New Mexico. And you heard earlier about the geospatial and doing some of that work. But that is just instrumental to our partner agencies as well as our active duty who are trying to do search and rescue, trying to clean up an area that's been affected by hurricanes, floods, fires, whatever. And so again, that's a recent example of how well our auxiliary has integrated, not necessarily with Coast Guard, but this was directly with FEMA. So I recently got challenged at a flotilla by a young auxiliarist who told me, you know, you're never going to get any new members that are young if you have RBS as your job one, because we're just not interested in job one as being RBS. And so I talked to him. I appreciated that. You know, we need the feedback, and I appreciate that. But you know, it's not just, we talk about RBS, we talk about vessel exams, and we talk about public education and a variety of things. But RBS, recreational boating safety, every time we have a conversation with somebody, it's recreational boating safety. Anytime we do public education, public affairs, or any of that, we're always talking recreational boating safety. But he said, yeah, but that's not really what we need to be focusing on. We need to be focusing on those other programs that we're doing, like drones and, you know, and all the other really kind of sexy things that are out there. So Coast Guard turned over recreational boating safety to us exclusively decades ago. Coast Guard no longer does public education courses. The Coast Guard active duty don't do vessel safety checks. They don't do program visits. That is ours exclusively. We partner with the, what's the other? Power Squadron. It has a new name, but that's why I was struggling with Power Squadron. But they turned it over to us. They don't do that. So that's the only Coast Guard mission that I know of that the Coast Guard actually doesn't do. We do it. RBS is still our job one and needs to continue to be job one, even as we add on 3, 5, 10 more missions each year in different areas. RBS has to continue to be our job one. It has to be the core of what we do. Our public needs it. Our public deserve it, and we need to do that. And we do it so well. I'm sure you saw, recreational boating fatalities are down. We're down last year, and it's now at the lowest rate it's been in 50 years. Hats off to all those who work in any kind of RBS, our program visitors, our public educators, our program visitors, our people who do public education, who go out and walk the docks and talk about recreational boating safety. We've done a great job with this, and obviously being the lowest in 50 years is pretty darn good, and I'm so proud of what we do. I think that now that most, if not all, of our states have adopted boating licenses, that's probably helped us with our public education classes, because people need now to get a boating license. California, we've just now, everybody this year has to have a boating license. That certainly we've seen an uptick in our boating classes, but I think that really has helped. So again, thank you for the RBS, a big shout out for what we do, saving lives like nobody knows, and every day we're out there. I also want to announce that for several years now, the Auxiliary Association has had funding set aside for a campaign called Campaign for Zero. And Commodore Vin Pica was instrumental in starting this program and soliciting donors. And we have about $300,000 set aside specifically and only for Campaign for Zero. And this is Campaign for Zero deaths on the waterway. Will we ever get there? Probably not. But it helps get us, the intent is to get us as close to zero as possible. And for the first time in 50 years, we are closer to zero than we ever have been, so hats off. But these funds are available, and I'm going to ask the vetting committee that did the vetting for recreational, for R&R to also set aside an SOP for how to get funding for Campaign for Zero. Because these funds are sitting there in the bank. They're making a little bit of interest, which is nice, but they're not saving lives. And that was why our donors, donated these large amounts of money towards this, is to save lives. And we have to do due diligence and get this out there and use it to save lives. So in closing, this has been just an exciting, incredible time for us to be members, and I'm so looking forward to how the next couple of years progresses. I think we're going to see lots of changes. I think Force Design 28, it's still being rolled out. It's still getting there. When Vice Commandant Allen, who'll be here later this week, saw me about a month ago, I guess, at one of the functions I was at DC, and he said, "How are the auxiliaries? Are they excited about Force Design 2028? And I said, well, actually, sir, most people are kind of disappointed and not really sure where it's going to go because the auxiliary really isn't mentioned much in there." And he was taken aback. He goes, "Oh my God, no, we are going to need the auxiliary more than ever. It's going to be endless in terms of what we can use with the auxiliary." And I said, "But it's not really outlined there." He goes, "There's no mention of deck plate either. There's no mention of active duty at the workforce level, right? There's no mention of that either. They're going to change the organization. That's really at headquarters. They're going to do some major changes in acquisitions and contracting, which is going to be helpful for people. But anyway, so just know that it's coming, and it's going to be great. So we can't take our eye off recruitment. We need to grow our membership so we can better support the Coast Guard missions and the missions that we don't even know about yet that will be coming. It's not just about numbers. We need to recruit the best people to fill our organization's needs and match the needs of our small boat stations, our sectors, and our air stations. We need to identify the skill sets needed and do targeted recruitment. Look at those, we need to look at those already in service professions, like first responders and medical professionals. We need to capitalize on recruiting at boat shows and public education classes, reach out to culinary institutes, language schools, and trade schools. Yes, trade schools. The Coast Guard needs those skilled in mechanics and engineering. The MK rating was one of the ones that had the highest vacancy in the last couple of years. So let's look at targeted recruitment. And that is going to be specific to each district, right? Each district has different needs. And so that's where we need to use our AUCs and our sector coordinators to help us identify, work with leadership at those units and find what do you need that we can offer. And sometimes active duty don't know what we can offer. So make some suggestions. I see it looks like you're kind of short here today. Do you want us to see if we can find somebody you can train to help out there? So work with your AUCs and get them going with that. We need to ensure our organization and its purposes are widely publicized. And that's one of the ways we're going to get members. We need to leverage our public affairs experts to ensure our stories and accomplishments are out there in the media, whether it's social or written, radio, TV, whatever. We could probably take an ad out on Super Bowl Sunday. We probably would meet a lot of people, because a lot of people watch the Super Bowl just for the commercials and not for the football. I watched for both. I had the privilege to share our story with the cadets at the Coast Guard Academy a few months ago. That was a unique experience. I'm not sure if we've had a National Commodore meet with the cadets and tell the story about the auxiliary. It was great because I'm hoping we get a chance to do this again on a regular basis with new cadets coming in to help them understand the auxiliary. Thank you. Shout out to Rick. Where's Rick Corrales? Is Rick not in here? Oh, wait. Oh, hi, Rick. Rick was instrumental in helping me put my presentation together, and we really focused on how the auxiliary can help you be better officers, especially as you take different commands at your different units. And that was a brilliant way to do it, and people really responded to that. And it was amazing how many cadets sitting in the audience had never heard of the auxiliary. So that was good to get that. I hope we are able to do that again. So again, it's an honor and a privilege to work alongside and support the greatest Coast Guard in the world as the greatest auxiliary in the world. Can we do it better? We can always do it better. Yeah, absolutely. And we demonstrate that pretty much every day as we get into new missions, etc. So it is a great time to be an auxiliarist. I feel like we're on the brink of something incredible. And I'm proud to represent you and advocate for you at the Leadership Conference in the Commandant's Strategic Office and Strategic Room at headquarters. It's just such an awesome to be such a part of a wonderful organization. And I do advocate for the auxiliary. I am not shy in speaking up when I'm at those conferences, whether it's the leadership conference or the senior leadership conference. So thank you for what you do every single day. Thank you for your expertise. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for the countless hours you give. Thank you for your tireless passion for what you do and your unwavering commitment to help our nation and keep our voters safe. So I thank you. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, Commodore Kirkwood. We will now address the national recommendations that have been submitted. Each board member received 4 recommendations to be acted upon at the national board meeting coming this Friday. Vice National Commodore Barry, will you please present the recommendations?
Thank you, Kelly.
Yes, sir.
So each member of the National Board has received a copy of the 4 recommendations that are before the board for consideration. I think those were mailed out back on July 22nd. We will now give a brief recap of those recommendations. Hopefully you've got copies with you. And if we steer into danger here, Commodore Kelton will keep us on course. He said, yeah, that's good. Okay. First recommendation was submitted by Commodore Mike Klasik via the Dean ACO Atlantic West, John Krogman. This recommendation would be for the removal of unlimited terms for elected vice flotilla commanders and vice division commanders. Is there any discussion among the board pertaining to this? Now's the time to be thinking about it. Talk about it more tomorrow in your area meetings. No discussion. Very good. Second recommendation has been submitted by National Commodore Mary Kirkwood on June 18th of 2025, and the recommendation would reduce the auxiliary recruiting service award criteria from 7 members to 3 members per year, and I think maybe we really mean 12 months from the time of membership. Yeah, a rolling thing within 12 months. So it's going to probably put some work on our good people in ForceCom, but I think it might pay off in recognizing some people that are out there busting their chops, busting their butts, really recruiting. Is there any discussion on the recommendation? Commodore, great.
Why 7 to 3? Why not 5? Set the bar a little higher. Don't just make it easy because, oh, sorry. Oh, wow. So,
If we're taping it, they gotta have that.
from 7 to 3, that's a big jump. Why not make it 5? Give it something for people to work at. Because if not, it's like everything else. You dumb it down, and everyone's going to come out with a shiny trinket. That's all they're looking for. They're not looking to make a meaningful member and to grow the organization. 5 raises it just that much more. But thank you.
Yeah, I can respond to that. Sorry, we don't have mics up here. Yeah, I'd like to respond to that. Actually, when I first wrote it, it was 5. And I did drop it down to 3 just for the incentive of people to get going. If we had 100 people that recruited 3 people, that's a lot of people. If we had 1,000 people who recruited 3 people, that's a lot. The number, it doesn't matter. I think 7 is way too high. I think 7 is way too high. Whether it's 3, 4, 5, I think whatever this group, the board wants to do, I think is good in there. But 7 is too many. It's like there's no way I'd be able to bring 7 people. I'm not even going to try. So I don't even get 1. I don't even get 2 because it's just too unattainable for me. So I don't necessarily call it dumbing down of it, but I agree with you on that. And I would anywhere under 7, I'd be happy. Thanks.
Hi, I thank you for addressing the recruiting ribbon. I think 3 is a sweet spot when it comes to awarding of a recruiting ribbon, and the following reason and rationale in my mind is we're recruiting to a higher standard than we had in the past. To recruit to a higher standard requires a significantly more amount of time, investment of resources, etc. So I think 3 will wind up being incredibly motivating to members. I know in our district too, we're not as big as some of the other districts on the East Coast, where the velocity of recruiting is higher than, let's say, our district, which we have 900 members, or actually, Boz, it was 945 this morning, not 941, so I appreciate that. So I think that the movement is going to be a boost of adrenaline, if you will, to the entire network, whether it's the smaller districts or the larger ones. So I applaud you for doing that.
I apologize if it's not my role to speak in this setting. So, Director of Auxiliary down in Heartland Coastal. I kind of see we're talking Commodore from northeast, I believe. Between 3 and 5, and Commodore, you mentioned you originally written it at 5, and I think that's interesting because we're talking a jump of 4. Maybe for a 2-year period, we reduce that down to a jump of 2 and go 5, and we can collect some data and see do we need to bring it lower. You talk about a sweet spot of 3. The Coast Guard active duty, and I could be speaking a little bit dated, I'm sure somebody will correct me, but the Coast Guard active duty side has a program called STAR, Scout, Talent,
And recruit.
Recruit. STAR recognizes active duty members for someone joining for 1. And that incentive for recruiting 1 person to join the active duty is a Commandant's letter of commendation and $1,000 cash monetary award. So if you're struggling with where the sweet spot is, if you're going to recruit talent and you're going to put significant investment in ensuring that you're getting a quality member that you talk about, Nico, I think it warrants some consideration to compare yourselves to your brethren and your sisterin on the active duty side. They take it so seriously that they've given an LOC and $1,000.
Thank you, Commander. Anyone else? Yeah, good point. All good points and stuff to consider, as all of you speak with your, or as the DNACOs speak with their district commodores over the next couple of days. All right, the third recommendation was submitted by Sven Dober, the Director of International Affairs, via the NACO response, Commodore Rick Saunders, on May 15th, 2025. This recommendation by the International Affairs Directorate requests the creation of a district staff officer for international affairs and the elimination of the ADSO OPI, or Operations International, in each district. Is there any discussion on this recommendation? Commodore Villeneuve.
As well written as this recommendation may be, I have a number of concerns. First, I think there may be a straw man argument being made here, as I do not perceive, certainly in my region, any issue with the ADSO interpreter position that I have in terms of communication to and from national. So I don't know where the justification may lie. Second, I'm not convinced that promoting somebody to a district staff officer position necessarily solves a chain of leadership and management communication issue. That's a leadership issue to be managed by the leaders within the district. Third, it represents an expansion of administration at the district level at a moment in time when we're discussing frequently that the auxiliary is in a contracted position. And I'm not sure that's the best use of resources, and certainly would add to the cost of managing in-person district meetings, although yes, it's only one, but there certainly can be opportunity later as we need more staff officers as our mission set expands. And then finally, the proposal suggests, and probably the part I have the most reservation with, that the appointment should be with the advice and consent of the International Affairs Directorate. And the AUX manual is very clear that staff positions are appointed by the district commodore with the approval of DIROX and serve at their pleasure. So it would be, to some degree, contrary to what the AUX manual indicates. And I would further advise that if we really are trying to nullify the Commodore in some of their roles and positions, there are opportunities for members who wish to manage and run a district to get elected as district Commodore and do so.
Points all well taken. Any other discussion? Being none, we'll move on to the final recommendation. The fourth and final recommendation was submitted by Commodore Bruce Kelton, our consigliere, on June 9th, 2025. This recommendation makes amendments to the national standing rules. The amendments clarify the recommendation process, voting discussion, and review procedures. The recommendation process, approval procedures as set forth in the National Standing Rules, Article 3, require administrative amendment to clarify recommendation-related voting, discussion, and review procedures in alignment with Oxman. The required amendments set forth in the attached document have been drafted by the Auxiliary Chief Counsel's Office to help ensure the recommendation process is efficient and consistent with Coast Guard policy and procedures. Is there any discussion on the recommendation? Commodore Villeneuve.
To be honest, to me, this proposal is confusing, and while it provides well stated the changes to be made, it lacks in terms of some of the justification or what the benefit would be of these changes, and for that reason I'm kind of lost overall with regard to this proposal. I'm very confused with the first part that indicates that we are going to now provide a mechanism where the Commandant, and I presume through the Office of BSX, can bring a proposal to the floor for vote and recommendation. I think that would be embarrassing if the district said no to that. And number two, my understanding is the Commandant, by the power of the pen, can indicate whatever proposal they want, and I don't think we need to have that separate pathway.
Thank you. Any other comments? Commodore Kumpf.
Good morning, everybody. One concern I have about the standing rules and the proposal that we have here is it doesn't do a couple things either. It doesn't dictate the policy on how this would come up from the appointed side of the House, and I think that needs to be added. And second of all, there should be a provision in there where the NEXCOM committee is not able to pull things off the table if the rest of the district commodores who make up the district board would like it to be considered. For those reasons, I would recommend that we table it until we address those issues.
Thank you. Any other comments? Commodore Larkin.
Dave Larkin from Arctic. The concerns that I have with it, where it would be voted on by, say, a district board and then an area board, the problem is that it could be stopped at those levels. There's a well-established Coast Guard policy that if, for example, if I write a memo to the chief director through my DIROX, my DIROX can't stop it. He can comment on it, support or not, but it goes all the way to the top. I would support these being voted on at the local levels, but not stopped. It could be passed on with it was recommended or not, but it needs to come all the way up so that everybody has visibility. It could be a great idea that would have 100% support at the national board level, but if a district, like some good old boys club, decided not to, it would stop it. So that, and then again with the same, not being able to be taken off without some kind of review by the national board. Even the president vetoes something, Congress can go back and override it. So those are my comments.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, that will conclude the discussion on the recommendations. I suggest you all, consider in your area meetings what's been brought up, discuss it further, maybe get together across the areas to discuss further. Maybe an amendment wants to be proposed. And the time to propose that amendment will be at the board meeting, and will be discussed further there. So thank you for your time and your input.
All right, great comments, thank you. I hope everybody takes those into consideration. That's why we have a board and not just one person running things, right? It takes a village to come up with different thoughts and ideas on this. So thank you, Commodore Ferry, for running that section. At this time, I would like to ask if there's any other business to be brought before the board. All right, hearing none. Kelly, are there any announcements?
Of course. I will have those tax exempt forms. I heard some of you did not get that email. If you need those, come see me and I'll make sure you have those. Just a reminder, as you head off to lunch, 10% off at the restaurants here on site. And tomorrow, OPCOM is in this room, starting at 1300. ANACOs, you just received an email from me 30 seconds ago with that schedule on there. So if you have any questions, please see me after this. All right, thank you all.
All right, thank you. And I now adjourn the Committee of the Whole at 10:29. So have a good rest of your morning, and we'll see you around this afternoon. Thank you.
Yes.
Downstairs, instead of schedules, they have.
All right, so there was a question about what is the uniform this afternoon? I don't remember what the ANACOs and directors are doing, but we have shots. What do we have this afternoon? I don't have the schedule in front of me. We have shots on goal. That's what the DCO and DCOS is. That could be polo shirts. That's fine. And then after that, we have Q&A with BSX. That can also be. So you can go ahead and change out. ANACOs and directors, what are you guys doing this afternoon? Staff training. That could be in Civi's polos as well. All right? Go get comfortable, everybody.